the fact that other people don't experience them is all part of the plan, because it's teaching us how to be confident, how to raise our self-esteem and speak our truth to become the leaders for others. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. I hope you're doing well. I'm Val Mason. Today I want to keep it light, fun, and interesting, and I'm going to share with you guys the mystical phenomena and the unexplained things that have happened to me throughout my life. Now, not all of them, of course, because there's far too many, but I do have a healthy list written up here of some good ones, starting from childhood on up till recently. Now, with that being said, I want to go ahead and both encourage and invite you to share your experience as well in the comments. I would absolutely love to read your comments and what has happened to you and your truth. Even if you're someone who has never shared it with another soul, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to share your truth with not only me, but for others as well. You know, your experience and your comment might encourage someone else who otherwise wouldn't to share theirs as well. So welcome to the safe space where nothing is too weird. So let's get started here. I'm going to start back when I was 3. I have memories from 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, and on up, of course. But when I was 3 years old, my parents were already divorced. I was living during the week with my mom and her parents in an old house that is now a lawn shop. And something would happen. There was a lot of things that happened around that age and when I was a child, but there was something in particular that would happen. And it was every time that I was approaching the steps from upstairs and going downstairs. There was never anyone else around when this would happen. But my legs would come up, I would spread my arms, and I would literally fly down the stairs. Very gracefully, very smooth, like extremely smooth and gracefully. Very slow. And then when I'd get to the bottom, my legs would swing down and I would land. Now, actually, it's funny because I remember one of my cousins being there one time when it happened and being so bummed out that she wasn't there to see it. So, and I knew this happened. I mean, it happened all the time. It happened like every day. And to this day, I can't put an explanation or a scientific explanation as to what happened. But it was more than my astral body leaving my body and go, like my physical body actually came up and I flew down the stairs. It was a very pleasant feeling. And then in elementary school, I shared that with my peers, and boy, that did not go well. You know, they made fun of me, they laughed at me, and it actually shocked me that they responded that way because I was just telling my truth. And so I think that was a time around where I began to feel a bit different, a sense of being an outsider or not fully accepted as I would like to be. And also that's when the levels of isolation began to develop as a result. All things happen as they should and when they should. It was absolutely perfect, and it has taught me amazing lessons and wonderful lessons about speaking my truth. You know, being here with you today and being able to share that confidently, knowing that it happened, and, you know, still yet sharing it with you so that you can share yours in return and not be afraid of judgment or exclusion, you know, for saying what the majority of the world might consider crazy. But you know what? I wouldn't even say the majority, because these sort of things happen to almost everyone. I just think that, you know, people try to convince themselves that it didn't happen or that it's unacceptable to talk about. So let's move on to the next one. This one occurred at my family's log cabin in Pennsylvania. My dad's parents built a log cabin on the shores of the Susquehanna River in the early 60s, and they owned it for about 50 years. So I spent my childhood summers growing up, running around barefoot, picking raspberries, digging up roots, and, swinging on vines in the woods right out of the backyard. Really beautiful, beautiful experience that exposed me to nature very early on. And this incident in particular, I was sleeping one night. I woke up and I was wide awake. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't hallucinating, but I woke up and there were huge spiders that were kind of like a mix between a black and a brown widow. Their bodies were round and they were huge. They were like as big as my 8-year-old head. And they were coming down from the ceiling and they were bright, vibrant colors, blue, red, yellow, green, orange, they're just really bright and vibrant and had these kind of like zigzag designs on their body. Now, I was not dreaming. I was wide awake and I saw them. And of course, I didn't reach out to try to touch them. I mean, I was exhausted too. So it was really all I had to actually get out of bed, and I went out and slept on the couch. And my Nana in the morning, she woke up and she came out and put the coffee on, and there was like flies buzzing around my face. And she, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I told her what happened. I said there were giant spiders coming down from the ceiling, but I was like that, I said what happened because there was no reason, and still to this very day, there's no reason to say otherwise than exactly what happened. So I think my Nana probably always knew that I was different in the terms of I had these special experiences. So that was that one. Okay, well, we'll go about the same age here, maybe 8, 9 years old. This is at my parents' house, the house that I mainly lived at with my mother and my stepfather. This happened several times, but one time in particular, maybe even the first time that it happened, I believe it was during a hurricane. Okay, so, when we get weather, it stirs spirits up. Weather, like hurricanes and storms, come through to cleanse the land. And on this particular night during the hurricane, I was absolutely having the most torturous sleep. It was like it wasn't quite sleep paralysis, though that happened later on in my life. It wasn't quite sleep paralysis. I could still move. I was tossing and turning, sweating up a storm. I was just absolutely miserable. And it felt like I was being tormented and tortured on a soul level with no escape. Now, if you're someone who considers himself a mystic or someone who has had these kind of spiritual experiences of both the darkness and the light, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. While I was having this torturous sleep, my eyes, I was opening my eyes, here and there. And these dark spirits were flying around my room. They kind of looked like, and this was before Harry Potter, so they kind of looked like the Dementors from the Harry Potter movies, if you're familiar with that. And they were just circling around my room. The feeling was indescribable. It's torturous. So all these sort of things, I experienced a lot of this sort of thing as a child. And of course, no one around that, experienced it, no one that knew what I was going through or could help me. And, to be honest with you, I mean, especially children have kind of spiritual and mystical experiences more than adults, but I'm not even sure that my peers had the level of experiences that I did, which I assume is normal. If you're a starseed or a, advanced or highly developed spiritual being incarnating into the earth, especially at this time, I think that's going to be a given. We have to experience these sort of things that, and the fact that other people don't experience them is all part of the plan, because it's teaching us how to be confident, how to raise our self-esteem and speak our truth to become the leaders for others. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's shoot on up. I think I was about 15 or 16. Now at this time I was living with my father. And so I'm sitting in my room one day on the edge of my bed, and not fully materialized, but very vaguely, I felt an incredible, immense light and powerful being in my room, like pure love. And actually, without question, I knew it wasn't extraterrestrial, which was completely new to me. I mean, when I was 15, I was, the only things of extraterrestrials that I ever heard of was through the movies, and fun spooky talk with your friends. But I had no idea of anything about, Syrians or Andromedians and Pleiadians and Lyrians and all the types of star seeds of galactic beings that have incarnated on Earth at this time. I had absolutely no idea. The Galactic Federation, I would have been like, what? I would have thought that was like something, a Star Wars quote or something. So, and ironically enough, after that happened, I didn't think anything of it either. I didn't think anything of it either. But when it happened, I just knew there was a deep inner knowing and peace inside of me that it was an extraterrestrial being. The experience was absolutely amazing, and I sat on the edge of my bed, and I just looked over into it. I couldn't fully see it. I mean, it was vaguely, like kind of like really, really vague pixels, but the energy was so strong. I think that's why. And I just said, without blinking and without hesitation, it was like it almost took me. I just said, I love you. I love you. And I did. I felt absolute unconditional love with this extraterrestrial being. And I believe that this being was definitely a Syrian. I don't know if it was a guide or maybe even myself. I'm not quite sure. But that was also the year that I met my twin flame too. So a lot of cool things were happening to me that year. But I never told anyone. I mean, it was like I didn't even feel compelled to tell anyone. I had no desire to tell anyone. It happened, and it happened. So actually very recently I felt an extraterrestrial presence in my bedroom now in my house that felt very good and strong. Maybe there was another time. I'm sure there have been when they have come and manifest around me. I'm sure throughout my life, but that first time was absolutely and definitely the most powerful. The most powerful, and it felt so good. Okay, so here's another one now. This is into my 20s. I was already an adult. I was living in my stepfather's parents' house after they gifted it to him and my mom. I was living in the basement apartment at the time, and I was sleeping one morning, and my headboard was tapping against the wall, and I was, asleep. So as I gradually, came to consciousness, my thought process was my heart isn't beating that fast to cause the headboard to hit the wall. Number two, my heart doesn't beat like da 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 da, or whatever it was. It wasn't like a heartbeat. It was some sort of pattern and rhythm. And as I thought that more and more, I realized, hey man, something's happening here. And so I was laying on my stomach, and I opened my eyes, and I saw the headboard hitting the wall, and I shot up, of course, and it stopped immediately. A whole bunch of stuff like that has happened throughout my life. All right, and the last two happened in my house here after I bought my house. The first one happened not too long after I bought my house too. So my bedroom television remote went missing. And I could not believe it. I mean, I searched under the bed, in the dressers. I came downstairs. I looked under the sofa. I looked in the cabinets. I checked all the closets. In fact, not with the intention to find it, but something in me wanted to search literally the entire house up and down, just to say that I searched the entire house up and down, looking for this remote. And for 3 days, I never found it. It was missing. The third day, it appeared on my bed. It was on my bed in the morning. And I still had my Facebook at the time, and I was, I was sharing these things that were happening to me. This was extremely close to my Kundalini awakening. I was sharing these things that were happening to me. It was like a repeat, pretty much, of when I was a child in elementary school. People not understanding, people thinking that they knew what the answer was because they actually didn't have the capacity to understand the level of experience, in dealing with multi-dimensional like shifts in the dimensions, which is exactly what I believe happened with that remote. I think a being took that remote into the fourth dimension, sort of to have me have that experience to prepare me for my Kundalini awakening. Whether that's actually why or not, I don't know. But the folks that are always like, well, there's a rational scientific explanation. Indeed there is. It's just some we don't have yet, but instead of expanding their intelligence into the quote unquote impossible or into the mystical, into the spiritual anomalies and phenomena, they want to keep it real low and basic where it feels safe. That's the majority of why people refuse to believe in the things that we experience and know to be true, because it challenges everything they think they know. And that means they're going to have to change everything from the inside out, which to someone who is afraid of change is not good news. Now, the last one. I have a black tourmaline organite pyramid crystal. And the day that I purchased it, I put it on my bathroom vanity where I thought it would look, where I thought it looked really nice. And I figured this was a good spot where, I could receive this grounding energy in the morning and at night when I brush my teeth and put my face cream on and do everything like that in the bathroom. Well, the next morning it was about 5:30 and I got woken up by something sliding off my nightstand and hitting the floor. And in the instant it happened, I knew something had happened. Because like I said, these things are just part of my life. And so when I finally did get up, I looked down and I saw that it was that crystal that I had put on the bathroom vanity. I realized that it had teleported. It had teleported from my bathroom to my side table, where it slid off and hit the floor. How it happened, whether a being made it happen, whether it did it by itself, how and why are pretty much irrelevant. I mean, they're very interesting. But actually why, not why, I believe I know why. And it's because it wanted to be closer to me while I slept. I think so that I could reap the greatest benefits from it. And indeed, it probably is my favorite crystal. I have quite a few crystals. It probably is my favorite. I mean, the energy is just so strong. And because of that experience with it, I feel very close to it. I feel like, well, I have a relationship. I have actually developed relationships with each of my crystals for different reasons. But that one's definitely special to me, just for that reason. All right, guys, I hope you have found this fun and interesting. Again, I can't wait to read your comments and hear your experiences. Hopefully, you sharing your experiences will help others share their experience and overcome the fear of being judged. Again, this is a safe space where nothing is too weird, believe me. Go ahead and click the like button. And also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel for more of my content. I'm Val Mason. Until next time, I hope everyone stays safe. Take care.